Okay, so my EMR strategy is on gather, review, and acknowledge. See if I can scoot this over. There we go. Okay, so first, before we know what gather, review, and acknowledge is, we have to understand what EMR is. So, EMR stands for establishing, maintaining, and restoring. So, it's a proactive framework that was developed by Dr. Clayton Cook to foster more positive teacher student relationships in schools. It's used to improve academic outcomes, build classroom trust, and reduce conflict. Oh. So there are three phases of EMR. First being established. So that's building your connections at the very beginning of the year or beginning of the relationship with your student. Then you're maintaining. So this is keeping the relationship strong throughout consistent positive interactions. And then you're restoring. So you're rebuilding relationships after there's been like a disconnect or a conflict that's occurred. So my EMR strategy was gather, review, and acknowledge. So this strategy is used primarily to maintain a relationship with the teacher and the student. So it is a part of the E of the establish because you're having to establish like the beginning of a maintaining process. So they kind of go hand in hand with each other. So this strategy involves checking in with students on a regular basis to gather their thoughts and their feelings and kind of voice what's going on with them. So this strategy is used as a mean to encourage students to reflect and feel heard, seen, and supported throughout school. So how this strategy works. So the first thing a teacher is going to do is they're going to gather information. So they're going to actively collect student input or information. They can do this through surveys, journal entries, one-on-one check-in meeting kind of things. Technology-wise, there's a lot of technology they can use, and we'll get more into that. But they're going to like first get input from students and hear from the students. Then they're going to review. So they're going to reflect on the students' feedback that they were given and consider the best next steps for the students or student. And then they're going to acknowledge that. So they're going to privately or publicly recognize the student voices and what they voiced and demonstrate those acts or what they need in an appropriate manner and way, depending on what it is. So then there are some practical uses in the classroom that this strategy can be applied. So teachers can implement digital sources and tools like Google Forms or Padlets, or they can do that for check-ins, to ask questions, just to kind of like reflect and kind of see where the kids and students are coming from. Then teachers can also use like more non-technological ways, so they can use just like regular exit slips where the kids are just writing information down, or they can do morning meetings to gather student feedback. And then teachers can also provide their feedback to the students through written notes, digital platforms, or they can do it verbally, verbal praise, just verbal acknowledgement, things like that. So for using technology for the gather and review and acknowledge, so there's different little resources I've found that can enhance this EMR strategy. So there's interactive surveys. There is Google Forms, which is a very well-known one. You can do all kinds of different question enhancing ones, whether the kids write something down, they do multiple choice, they, do a poll. Like there's all kinds of things within there that they can choose from. And there's a Mentimeter, which is very similar to Google Forms, where you're kind of just like doing a survey sort of layout of getting feedback. There's classroom communication apps, and also it's kind of like behavioral apps too. There's Class Dojo, which a lot of teachers know of. It's got point systems, but it's also got ways you can, constantly gather and get student feedback. Then there's the Remind group a lot of teachers use for parent and administration communication, but students can also have their own Remind groups with, teachers and administration to kind of ask questions. There's also just regular email that's on there. I didn't put that on here, but email as well for just communication preferences. And there's some digital reflection tools and journals like Google Docs. It's just pretty basic and straightforward. And there's also Seesaw, which has a couple different outlets in there that you can go about with doing like journals and stuff for students. Excuse me. So, why does gather, review, and acknowledge matter? Why does the strategy matter when it comes to a teacher and student relationship? So, it reinforces the process of one, yes, you're establishing your relationship with your student, of, building that connection from day one or from the very beginning. But then you have to go into maintaining that when you're establishing it. So, how this strategy can be very helpful in enhancing and maintaining that relationship. It can prevent any kind of conflicts to get out of hand. So, having student feedback and providing that, getting that early on, can provide teachers a strategy of catching issues early on that can be resolved quicker so it doesn't blow into something bigger. So, the strategy also builds student belonging, engagement, and the importance of fostering an emotionally safe and responsive classroom environment. So that way, students are feeling like they're being seen and heard and respected by their teachers and can go to them for issues or just to have a good connection so they can learn and thrive. So, some teacher reflections that maybe a lot of teachers may get from this strategy is teachers can feel like they understand their students better on a deeper level. They're kind of getting into knowing their students personally in a way that can help them regarding how's the best way to teach them, how's the best way to approach them, how does these kids respond to their emotions and things like that. Teachers can feel possible relief by using the strategy because it can help them catch issues early on before they become conflicts, and that can resolve quickly so that way they can get back to teaching and the students can get back into thriving academically and socially with their peers. And then teachers can also maybe find comfort in knowing that their students are feeling heard and they're feeling seen, and then they might be more willing to participate, whether it's with academics, projects, partner stuff, just socially with peers, things like that. What are some possible student outcomes? So, what can students take away from having this strategy implemented with their teacher? So, this gather, review, and acknowledge can allow students to connect and make significant impacts on their lives, between their academics and their social and emotional well being. So, they can just have overall greater motivation to get stuff done or just, more happier, more excited to be at school or to be able to talk to peers and their teachers. It can lower rates of conflict and referrals, so it can improve their behavior to where they're not acting out or maybe not being as uninvolved in their work. It can improve classroom behavior, like I said, so just improving their overall behavior, knowing that they have people they can go to and talk to and can build off of that. And then it can improve and increase academic achievement. So now that they're being able to have a good relationship with their peers and their teachers and be able to talk to their teachers, they're able to now focus on their work and be able to improve workload wise and be able to succeed within that realm. So, the summary of gather, review, and acknowledge, we have that technology can enhance implementation of this strategy and increase accessibility for students. EMR in general can help teachers manage relationships with students, whether they're first establishing them, they're trying to maintain them, or they're restoring them. And then the gather, review, and acknowledge strategy specifically can help implement modes of maintaining a positive and safe environment, so that way these relationships with their students can be seen and can also thrive in the best ways they need to. So, gather, review, and acknowledge is key in maintaining strong connections with students in a classroom, so that way they can feel heard, they can participate, and they can thrive academically and become the best versions of themselves. So, yeah.